Let's talk about fish. Now, we can't talk about all fish because humans eat over 100 different species of fish. But you know what, I'm a resourceful guy, so we'll give it a go nonetheless. Now, many of the protein-rich seafood we enjoy begins life at a hatchery. We're talking everything from lobsters to oysters to tuna. But we're going to take trout as an example. Now, as you might imagine, trout are not easy to handle. So we put them in an anesthetic bath so that we can do whatever we want with them and they can't complain. So here's what we do. We grab a female and squeeze all her eggs out before grabbing a male and making him ejaculate all over the eggs. But the females are getting off light because if she was a salmon, the easiest method might just be to cut her open. Once we have fertilized eggs, we'll count them and we'll shove them in an incubation tray. We wait for them to hatch and then we have sac fries. Sac fry is a fancy name for a juvenile fish. And we need to separate them from the dead eggs. So we just shove them in a sieve and shake them around a little bit. Now the sac fry have yolk sacs and they spend 2 weeks absorbing the nutrients and fats to help them grow rapidly. We know they're done when they start to come to the surface for food. Then, over the next few months, they grow larger and larger and larger, so we need to move them to larger and larger tanks. When they're finally considered big enough, we'll send them to farms. Now let's take salmon. Salmon are sent to underwater sea cages at 12 to 18 months old, alongside 60,000 other fish. It's a little crowded in there, sure, but the fish can still move around for a while. Until they grow a little bit larger, and then they're tightly packed together. But, we don't really want to spend the money on a bigger cage. Besides, we spend enough money on their food. Salmon are carnivorous, so we have to feed them wild-caught fish like anchovies. Now, we do have a problem. You know what? The salmon have a problem, because half of them go deaf from the accelerated growth rate, and, they get fin damage and lesions and stuff like that. But no, the uneaten fish and excrement depletes the oxygen and increases disease, so we do have to spend more money on pesticides and antibiotics. If a fish is feeling particularly selfish, they'll die before we can sell them. But, what can we do? When the fish are finally big enough to sell, we tend to suck them up through bore tubes and pop them into an ice bath. They'll freeze to death in there, but it's pretty much instant, like only 30 minutes. I mean, I've been cold longer than that, so... There are other methods of slaughter, including gassing, cutting the gills, leaving them to suffocate, electrically stunning them, or, just hitting them over the head. But, many fish refuse to die, so they end up being gutted alive. It's kind of their own fault, because, if I was thrown into an ice bath, I would get the idea. Now let me give you a little side fact. Somehow we've gotten people to believe that fish don't feel pain, even though we have as much evidence that fish feel pain as birds and mammals. And apparently, their bodies are as sensitive as the human cornea, so handling them probably feels like being poked in the eye. I mean, I don't envy them, and I don't know why people think fish don't feel pain, but I'll take it, it's good for business. Anyway, that's farming. It's easier for us to farm fish, but some crybabies want ethically caught fish, whatever that is, so 50% of fish are wild caught. When we go to sea, the options are pretty much nets or lines. So, let's talk about nets first. You may not be surprised to hear that your standard trawler net is not very intelligent. They can't exactly distinguish between species, so we end up picking up all sorts of bycatch that we can't sell. It can be a bit of fun sometimes, it's like, if a zoo met a lottery. So they're pretty cool to look at, but at the end of the day, it is a waste of company time. There is another net option, and that's a gill net. And that's where we put fine netting on the ocean floor to trap fish by the gills. Now the advantage here is that gills are how they breathe. So often when we pull them up a few hours later, a lot of them are already dead, saving us some valuable time. But then, we've got some more namby-pamby customers who want a line-caught fish. They're probably picturing a guy on his fishing boat with a rod, but that's not really how you make money. If you want to make some real money, you gotta use industrial lines. Our lines are 50 to 100 kilometers long and have hundreds, sometimes thousands of hooks. Now that is how you fish. Obviously, a lot of the fish that we eat are carnivorous, so we need to stick live fish on the hooks as bait. And we don't want any of the hooks to come up empty, so we gotta leave it in the ocean for a few hours before pulling them up. Fish will die in many ways, but you know what, a lot of the time we don't actually need to do anything. Sometimes they'll come up and they'll suffocate, or they get crushed by other fish. Or sometimes the rapid pressure changes have ruptured their internal organs, so they come up partially processed. It's better that way though, dying of asphyxiation can take up to 4 hours depending on the fish. So you know what, I'm pretty happy I wasn't born a cod or something. If we're on a tight schedule, we might just end up gutting the fish alive. It's not as bad as it sounds because you come out of the experience feeling like a big, hard, manly man. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Obviously the topic of fish is extremely broad, so if you want me to zone in on one species of fish, just let me know what you're interested in and I'll give it a go. I'd also like to ask you for a quick favor. I don't have a community tab yet because I'm still a small-time YouTuber, so if you want updates from me, go to my channel page. In the top right corner are links to all of my social media. and that's where you can get updates and questions and talk to me. Make sure you watch Seaspiracy on Netflix, and I'll see you all next time.